Well, there you go. 8 o'clock and we're live. This is pretty good. I apologise for the lighting. Lighting here is terrible. I'm just away from my machine for a second. Bear with me. Apparently, there we are. There we are. Yeah. Let it load. Right. Let's wait a time for some people to come on. Let's be up. I don't do that right now. Go away. Let's wait and see what happens. Let's have a look. Now play. La, la, la. Well, it's supposed to be live, so oh wait. Wow, we got a delay. There's my hand. Let's do this, shall we? Okay. How are we all? Welcome to the first live stream I think I've ever actually done, and it's going to be a nice and easy one. Today, because of this horrible coronavirus, I thought it'd be wise to kind of let's take through some ideas in that. And because Portsmouth Comic Con and MCM have been postponed till July and August, I thought we'd have a bit of fun. So today, we're going to design starships. Well, we're going to go through the design process and have a bit of fun with it. So I based the idea on the 4 rules, that's 4, that Gene Roddenberry and Andy Probert put together in the 1980s for Star Trek TNG, and they were really simple rules. We do say they're simple enough. Simple design things were nacelles had to be in pairs, so you have to have 2, but a pair means 2, not 3, not 1, 2, or 4, or 6. We could have 8, because 8 is 4 pairs of 2. That's pretty rad. So we have to have those. They have to have at least 50% line of sight. This is because I'm presuming in universe they talk to each other. So you'd have a little doodle, 1, so they can see each other, or from the top, a doodle there, they can see each other there, if you catch my drift. They cannot be obscured from the front, so they have to be visible. This is outstanding doodling here, see? Visible, and not obscured by this, by part of the front of the ship. And the bridge always has to sit on the top, in the centre of the primary hull, which is the saucer you usually see. So, oh, Steve's joined. Hi Steve, how you doing? With further ado, what we'll do is we're getting the idea of sketching out. So let's get this junk out of the way. I have a nice piece of paper here. I'm using layout paper because I tend to draw it. It's quite thin. You don't need this. Any paper's good. And I've got a pencil and I've got a pen hidden away. First things we need to kind of understand is shapes. And we're going to do a view from the top so we can get the understanding from the top view. Everything you'll look at when you draw or when you design is based on shapes. People are shapes. Objects are shapes, scissors are shapes, pens are shapes, everything has shapes. So finding those shapes is quite an interesting study. So depending how you want something to look, you can just doodle it out. So if we say you look at a classic design, the shapes are simple. We have a circle top, we have a square hull, rectangular across, and rectangular nacelles. Easy, we've got roughly 3-4 shapes there. It's a good place to start. Shapes are always important. So if we were to kind of expand further, we can look at, say, go further afield. Let's go into the 80s with the next gen. Again, it's cylindrical. It's another little triangle. Another 2 more little squares there. And 2 more little kind of rectangles. So we've got a rough idea. So if you've got a pencil and paper in front of you, play around with some shapes. So let's muck around a bit. Let's go a little bit more. That's kind of circular again, but we'll look at shapes like triangles. We can look again at rectangles again. And you see we start getting kind of an idea of the look we want. We can play around again, keep playing around with it and see, just start changing things around. And then see what kind of top you get. Still keeping this idea that we put before. The cells had to be in pairs, so we've still got twos. But the problem we've got with this one, from the top there's no line of sight between them. We don't have to worry about that yet because we're only looking down from the top. So for all we know, there could be like a 50-foot gap drop underneath these. We don't know that yet. So if we keep playing with these kind of shapes, like mixing them up, we start getting all sorts of kind of variations and kind of ideas about what we could have. And you'll start seeing something you'll probably become quite naturally feeling that will kind of attract you. Everybody looks at things different ways. Everybody likes different things. Everybody is attracted to different shapes. There's a concept of car design that majority of cars are now curved because they want a more female audience to buy them, because psychologically, apparently, women prefer objects that are curved and men prefer things that are boxy. So if you look at, say, Saabs or Volvos, they're quite boxy because they want a male buyer. But if you look at things like Peugeots and Renault, they're quite curved. And look, Kias are very, very curved. And if you look at the whole ad campaign of a Kia, is they aim towards young professional women to buy things. They call it a shopping car. Ooh, Sophie's here. Hi, Sophie. So we've got 2 viewers. This is pretty good. We're doing well. See what else pops in. So whilst we're just going to carry on doing this, I hope you're all drawing as well. Got your pencils about. I'm hoping Steve is there with the dog. Don't let the dog eat your homework. It's bad news. So we've got some interesting shapes happening here. We've got circles, we've got triangles, we've got rectangles, we've got squares, we've got cuboids. I think that's a rhombus. So we've got this kind of interesting kind of array of things happening. Let's just add in some. There you go, there's the bridge. So no one can moan at me, there's not a bridge in the centre. Now we've got these, you need to find areas, as I said before, you like. Now, I'm quite digging the idea of triangles, but this area here, I'm not too keen on. So what I want is kind of, I'll bring it down. So that's the centre. Let's bring it out. Let's bring it out, and then we'll see. Now we're getting somewhere interesting. See, now we've filled this gap. We've shortened this bit here. It's now shorter, and here the gap is smaller. And this point is now here. So now we get an interesting kind of shape. Now, don't expect to have a masterpiece concept at the moment. We're just kind of finding our feet. And if you don't excuse my rambling, it's the best way. I mean, I wonder what you guys have got so far. So, I'm kind of digging this kind of more circular top. I mean, you might not. You might want more of an oval, or like a vertical oval, or a landscape oval. The problem I'm finding with a lot of designs that happen now is they kind of have this tendency to look like spoons. And at the moment we've got, I mean, if you turn a spoon upside down, it looks kind of like that. There you go, there's your spoon, upside down spoon, and then they're just doing this. It is a spoon in space. I don't want a space spoon. Space spoons suck. Oh, why do my drawings look so poor compared to yours? And I'm copying you too. Yeah, Sophie, I'm an annoying genius. Practice. All those days on my own, going mad, I was doing this, or just doodling from a child. It happened. I'm a terrible cameraman, Steve. So, that's swings and roundabouts. Some are good, some aren't. So, this is what we are. No, I'm digging this. Thank God for these things. I'm digging this guy. This guy I think I like. So, I'm thinking I'm going to work on this guy a bit more. So I'm hoping you may have an idea of what you want your kind of ship to look at. Now we're working with the Star Trek universe, so we've got our set of rules we have to follow, but we're also going to expand those rules, because using those 4 rules can limit you here. But if you need to go further, you need to kind of expand on it. So I'm going to dig this guy. This is my dude. I'm not going to waste paper. I'm just going to move over here. So this guy is the one I want. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to expand on this guy and add in a bit more detail that I think is relevant to what I want. Now, when you're thinking about concepts of where you want to go with detail, don't expect to always have these really cool construction lines and all these amazing elements on there. What we're going to do is just expand it, and we're going to add in other shapes. And we're going to continue adding shapes and removing shapes until we get something we like, and we can work from there. So this guy, this is our, let's do that. So I'm only going to sketch him out. So I've sketched out my rough size. Again, it's very, very rough because we're going to start adding and taking things away. So let's bring that a bit further in. So I'm not doing this to protract anything, I'm doing this completely freehand. So I wish I had a better rubber actually. Oh well, what we're going to do. This is our rough shape. Now from this we're going to start adding in more shapes. Now I know that this panel here, this bit here, is too flat for my liking. I don't like that. So I'm going to bring this out. So there's a bit of a gap, but I'm going to square it off. The reason for this is because this is going to be almost like, I say, inevitably a shuttle bay. And then we're going to, so it's separate. There's a gap here. Because if that was all one section, it would look really bland on screen. It would look really bland on paper. It would just be boring. So what I've done is just slowly added in another rectangle. And we can always add in more shapes. Like, I don't really like this section here, so I want to spread that out and bring that in. Again, this is really rough, so the gaps here are not going to be the same. They're going to be rough because we'll move on to that later on. So then this shape here becomes a new shape. Now this here, I don't want this on top. This is going to be our section here. So this is our primary hole. This is 1. This section here is 2. So primary, secondary. So this is where the bridge is. But they always have these really cool shapes. I mean, if you look at on top of things, especially look like 70s, early 80s design, it's very industrial and it has these really cool shapes like that on top, and it's kind of like domes. And you look like you go like into like the mid 80s, and they're all kind of like lots of weird things, and we're like, yes, we like weird shapes. You think it's just madness. So we're going to stick more kind of this kind of late 70s, early 80s, more industrial kind of concept. So again, we're just adding more shapes. So we've got our little rhombus again, more circles, and we're beginning to get a concept here. We're beginning to get an image. Yep, I'm still an annoying genius. So we're beginning to get something that looks more like what we want as we kind of go in and we take out shapes. So this here is going. I'll rub that out. So you can. That's been baking in the sun too long. So is the rubber. Might switch to a pen. So we're going to start taking things away to get shapes. So now we have, I don't know what you'd call that. Would you call that a rhombus? Would you call it a kite? I think it's more like a kite. On its side, it's like a pissed kite. No, a drunk kite. It's probably might be kids watching this. I'm sorry, a drunk kite. Not what I said before. That's bad news. Don't be doing that until you're older, or you're at a party on New Year and someone gives me a camera, because that was a funny New Year. The Eye of Dan. So, we've got our basic. We've now got our basic form, what we want. From this guy here, let's move to this guy, and now we're adding things and taking things away. So we're adding bits of shape, and we're adding it, and we're taking little bits away to give it more form. Form is important when it comes to design language. You need to understand, or anyone needs to understand watching it, that when you create one image like this, especially in a franchise, you're going to create more of the same concept, and your language has to say the same. There's a tendency, it happens as much as I like Doctor Who, it happens in Doctor Who, they don't have a set language, so you'll go from one episode to the next, and images change and designs change, even though it's the same people. So humans across time have always got different looks, and fashions change, design change. Look at cars, look at planes, the past 100 years, but you always know it's a plane. You always know it's a car. You always know a car designed by Toyota is a Toyota because they follow the same look, the same ideals. You know a Bugatti is a Bugatti because it follows the same shape. So you need to keep following this idea of things looking the same. So you can't really go all out and go, it's science fiction, I can do what I like. No, there are rules, like anything, but the rules are set by you. So, in terms of Star Trek, the rules look like this. The rules are, there's a saucer, there's nacelles, there's a hull, there's a bridge, and then occasionally they break it when they chuck in things like, here you go, there's a quick doodle, the Defiant. But then even that had a bridge in the centre, it had two nacelles, it had a cylindrical hull, and it had this kind of cool bit on the front. Even that for the same kind of idea. And even that had like a little bit of that. There you go. It's not a bad little doodle. I'm quite impressed with this. Hold on. Got myself a cup of tea. I'm impressed with my dedicated 2 viewers so far. So, we have that. I don't know where you are, that's what I've got so far. So now, I'm going to go a bit further. I have what I want. Now, I'm going to delve a bit further. A lot of people I know kind of will do that, and they'll continuously get that, burping away, transport it again, because we'll probably work digitally, and then work on the same thing again. I don't. I pick things. Like nacelles. Nacelles I have to design separately. I design separately because I have to, because I can see something as parts then put together. It's kind of like a model kit. But there's a science behind them. Here's this. There's science. Always science. A nacelle in the universe is actually based on a real concept. It's called a Bussard collector. And a Bussard collector is based on what's called a Bussard ramjet. What they do is, let's do that one. They collect hydrogen particles and atoms in space through the front. And they run it through a series, it's basically a really simple way of telling it, they run it through a series of electromagnets, and it compresses the atoms to the point they cause fusion. And that creates a huge burst of energy. And that energy is then spat out the back as thrust. There you go, there's your science. They're going to try it, I think. NASA are going to try it. I think the Chinese tried it. Or we're going to or something. And it's going to revolutionise space travel, really. If they can get it right. Otherwise, everybody burns. We don't want that happening. Anyway, so that's what it is. This point, it's like a giant power cell. This whole point is like a nuclear power plant. Hydrogen goes in, gets squished here, spat out here. Not bad. And then you'll see, like, on TV, there's, like, these cool kind of heat sinks. I don't know if you can see it better with a pen. It'll kind of like, so they expel excess heat, because you don't want things melting. Yep. Oh, got 3. Who's third? Shout all 2 now. There was 3, there's now 2. So, as I was rambling about that, we're going to go on these guys. Now, I'm going to kind of do it as an orthographic, so I'll do the top to the side and the front so I can get a good kind of visual idea. I know from the front I need a passage for hydrogen to go in. Usually they are seen as kind of circular, which I think is probably pretty cool. Circles are cool. I mean, the vibe we've got at the moment is circles and triangles, so we'll go with a circle. That's pretty rad. We'll go with a circle. I quite like this as well. Let's have two. Yeah, let's have two. This is cool. I like this. Yeah. And then we'll encase it. Do I want to... Now, here's the thing. This is the shapes thing again. Do we want it kind of upright? Or do we want it that way? So it's like that. Like the dude from Short Circuit, Johnny Five. Now this is a problem. Any suggestions? I'm looking in the comments. Is everyone stuck in the same pit as me? What do we do? Or do we vibe up a bit more and add a third and go for kind of the triangle? Because triangles are cool. It's because they got three sides. 3 is the great number. Or that's a bit Illuminati. 3 is kind of like the magic number, isn't it? De La Soul were kind of right. We're going to go 3. Let's go with 3. So let's sketch this out. So now, I probably jumped a bit ahead now. I kind of know the shape I want. I want kind of 3. I think that's too thin. Let's bulk it out. Let's bulk it out. Yeah, it's really warm in this room. Don't worry, it's warm. I haven't got corona. I'm alright. So, we've got this kind of... There we go. That is going to be the front at the moment. How are we all doing? First one. This one. Well, that's democracy. First one wins. This dude. Okay, so we're going to go for this one. So we're going to go for square. Well, is it a square? A rectangle is a square. It's got 4 sides. What is it? I don't know. Is that a cuboid? Is that what it's called? No, cuboid's 3-dimensional. Answers on a postcard. Yeah, but the triangle looks cool. Oh my god. Right, we're going for this. We might, I've got an idea. So, this is the front. Actually, that's kind of cool because we've got like a redundancy there. If one goes wrong, we've got a small one just in case. Or it could be something else. It could be a giant light. No giant lights. Bad news. There's a reason for that. It would just melt. So this is our front one. We're going to kind of, I know none of you guys use Adobe Illustrator, but about a year ago, they introduced a tool to give curved edges to your squares. And I was unashamedly excited about that little tab. You could just pull it and it would make these curves. You didn't have to cut anything out. It was great. That was the highlight of that day. I was at work and I read about it and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. You've got a tab to do this. Right. This is this guy. That's the front. Now I've got the front. So let's build on it a bit. Now, I kind of dig aerofoils on planes. Like tail fins are pretty cool. So I think we should add a few of those. I know they serve no purpose. Well, it's debatable, isn't it? Because unlike what people say, you do actually get drag in space. Because the amount of space junk that kind of floats around, or dust and all that stuff floats around. If you were to go through space, it would all kind of collect on the front, and it would actually create more mass. So the heavier it gets, the harder it is to push along. So you've got something pushing towards it, so you create drag. It's like solar winds do the same. So you'd have to create more energy to create more thrust using more fuel. There you go. So that could be useful. I don't know. And then we need a way for the attachment down here. So it depends if we're going to go straight down or we're going to go across. This is a conundrum. Let's just put the tab there for the moment. There you go. There's that fun rhombus again. I'm pretty sure it's called a rhombus. Hi John. How you doing? You all good? So, at the moment it was kind of like a two-side traffic light. Anyway, this is our connection tab. This is going to connect the pylons to our nacelles, our giant storage powerhouses of nuclear death. Don't go inside it, you'll melt, unless you're that alien in the X-Files movie. If you ever saw that, they hung out by the power plant. It was quite bizarre. This is going to be full of random pop culture nonsense and tea. Oh, I was on 5. Now I'm down to 3. Someone's bored. I'll tell you one thing up today. I did start watching that Jeff Goldblum series on Disney Plus. If you haven't got it and you're really bored and you can't go outside, I highly recommend getting it because there's a lot on there. I'm not actually paying for it. Lexi is. But then I pay for everything else. I pay for Amazon and Netflix. I hold no grudge against it. I might as well share the love. Right, so, but I'm digressing. This guy here is this guy here. So we've got kind of a front. But we now need to know what is it like from the side, from the top. So, excuse me, burping again. I had a really nice sausage casserole, by the way. So, let's go from the side. Let's go from the side. We have our cool rectangles again. See, I bet you didn't realise how many times you use shapes. You probably use shapes in life more than you use algebra. In fact, I don't think I've actually ever... No, I used algebra probably about... Like when I did astrobiology, I used algebra, but I've never actually used it since. And even then, it gave me the answers. It didn't give me this x plus b equals f. It actually gave me numbers. Again, we're moving away. So we've got our front. I wish I actually brought a rubber. Because this has been in the sun, so it's really, really solid. Just like that. So, we're on the rectangle on the side. So we're going for like a side view. Profile. Dorsal. Side view. So, it's probably actually the left-hand side. So we've got we're going for the side. This thing here is here. So we need to make, again, we've got our shapes. I know they shouldn't really protrude because it looks like they're kind of going to get battered by the elements of space, especially like a big bit of comet coming along and whack it. But we're taking that risk. Now these guys, I'm putting back here, but I don't want to keep it a perfect rectangle. I'm going to extend it a bit because that is insane. So I'm going to start trimming bits off. So we can start taking bits away. So now we've got, there's a reason for this. It's not just because it looks fun. You're giving it a sense of direction. When you design anything, it needs to have a sense of direction, a sense of forward motion. When you start cutting things out, especially like this, it looks like all energy is going this way, which means it's all going to go this way. If it was a boat, I'd understand, but we would have already established what these are. So when we put it all together, this helps with the idea of the motion is going that way. So as soon as you start adding fins, see, I've already started adding more. You instantaneously associate it with aircraft. And aircraft fins always kind of, I say always, they don't always, there's X-planes that are marginally different. They point in that direction, which makes it look like the air is cutting that way. So the air is cutting that way means this looks like it's going that way. There's a lot of kind of clever design psychology in this. I really hope you're keeping up. I'm sorry if I kind of sound like I'm mumbling or stammering. I'm literally running this through an iPhone with the iPhone mic because YouTube is evil. Excuse me, T went down the wrong way. So this was like kind of our draft. Now I've kind of ported this to this. It feels like things are missing. So I also need to work out this dude here, the actual assembly of where it connects to the hull. Where's it going to be? I'm going to run a guess about here. So when I do stuff like this, I think of more of a industrial. I like to say industrial. I'm not an industrial designer. In my head, I like to think things are put together like Lego. So things have a reason to exist. So you can imagine that'd be like slotted on like a model kit. And this is where it is. That might change in size depending on how big this ends up being. But we also need to understand. We don't need to understand anything. We want to understand. Now we've got to think about heat. And there's a lot of power in there. And it's going to go somewhere else. We need to add in heat sinks, because heat sinks are kind of quite important when it comes to heat, because otherwise things melt. If I remember, my PC is a heat sink. But what are they going to look like? Do I want those little holes? No. Do I want a grill? Maybe. Do I want a straight flat? Ooh, that'll look cool, wouldn't it? What about if we just go for a nice straight flat opening? Because then in universe, that would glow. That's cool. Didn't think of that one, did I? Nice little grills. Okay, it's like a little space grill. Like a radiator. How's everybody else doing? You all doing good? You all following along? Or you're bored and turned off? I hope not. So what I've done is, in my head, all that extra heat that is created needs to go somewhere. And there is a myth that space is really cold. It kind of isn't. There's if you're in space, if you're on the space station and looking at the sun, the front of you is about 180 degrees C. The back of you is about minus 180 degrees C. So there's still a lot of heat in space. It's also why things are white, by the way, because it reflects the heat. There's also a thing like when they wore silver suits. I remember reading it somewhere. When they wore silver suits in NASA, it wasn't because they thought it was reflective. They thought that's how it had to be because they'd been watching Buck Rogers. It's probably an urban myth, but I kind of like the idea that's true, that they're watching Buck Rogers and went, oh, well, Buck Rogers is wearing silver. That's cool, we'll go with that. Still here. I kind of feel it's missing something here. I think I'm missing something. I don't know what do I need to put a cowl on it? I don't think I want to. Maybe I've put... What if we had like some kind of attachment system on it? So it's kind of like a rigging system. Let's poke it out a little bit more. So it's almost as if... Yeah. Whoop. Right, it's going to change a pen actually. Put that down there. This is a 0.3. So this bit here, I've kind of had a bit of a kind of an idea that there will be some kind of system that will kind of hold it in place. You probably can't see it very well, which is kind of a shame. So this bit here, let's go for a big one. So we have I like the idea that there's this, again it's like Lego, where things can be uncoupled and put back together again. Like, yeah, that's kind of cool. And then we have we kind of add in, I don't know, some other bits and bobs. It's looking kind of a bit bland, isn't it? This is the trial of designing, things can look bland, but then you think, actually, I might end up adding decals and stuff. If I actually just take this into Illustrator, clear it up, I'll probably end up adding like details, like warning signs, you know, this way up, don't step here, push button for toilet. Right, that's gonna bug me, so I'm gonna move from this to the top, because otherwise I'm gonna end up getting really annoyed with it. So, in effort of saving paper, let's go back to we've got our rough shape, so we know it's a rectangle. How we were doing? We're doing good? I can imagine Steve is getting rather frustrated right now. Why does mine not look as good? It doesn't matter. It's not important. As long as you're learning something, I hope you're learning something, and you're not getting bored. Okay, this is the first one ever in our live stream. I've got an idea. This here is going to taper in. Because again, gives that sense of motion. Again, it's that aircraft idea. It gives that sense of motion. So now it looks like air is going to pass through here and go this way. I kind of feel, yeah, we need a foil here. We need like, yeah. I'm digging it now. I think I'm on a roll. So we've got our doodah here. There's our fin. This little strut. And here's a fin here. Yeah, now we're looking at the top. We need to think about the top. So I think we need to add. That's what it was missing. Kind of a little nerdy up here. Star Wars, they're called greeblies. Those like weird little things you find on things, like bits of battleships, they're called greeblies. So like the buttons and stuff. There is one called the Universal Greebly, which is found in every model kit known to man. And it appears in every single model, I think, in Industrial Light and Magic's model shop of ships, including the model built for Space Cowboys, the Space Shuttle. The Universal Greebly. The top is dead simple, isn't it? There's nothing really complicated about it. We just know that we need to have this guy at the front. If I take this into the computer, I might end up deleting that bit, but at the moment I think I'm happy with it. And we'll add some tracking lights. You're in space, you're a spaceship, you're going to need blinkers, otherwise no one's better to know where you are. Imagine the distances between you and your mate, it's going to be like 1,000 kilometres. And you're like, yeah, hey, how you doing? Want to get pizza? Yeah, I'm only 1,000 kilometres away. Yeah, I can see you. Sorry, I was just kind of peering over to my tea. So I think we're doing pretty good on that. We've got the nacelle done. I think we're pretty good on there. How are you guys doing? Are you stressing? I think you're doing pretty well. You're not complaining yet, so I'm hoping you're doing alright. So let's put some little just shape marks in. I don't think that's going to be completely... In my head, that's going to change slightly. All it does is just mean all that does is just mean that there's a connection here and a connection here. There's that curve. I'm digging that. I like that. So that'd be like kind of like. Let's have it. Should we point it down or across? Let's point it out. Let's point it out. For now, they're just rectangles, and I'll trim them later on. All good, all good. I'm quite looking forward to seeing what you guys have done, actually. I'm really hoping that either you share them on Facebook or you PM them to me, because I'm quite intrigued. I'd be quite good to go through then and see what you've done and kind of see what ideas you've got. Because I'm hoping we've all got something slightly different. I mean, you might have a short one, you might have little stubby little nacelles, like dinky ones that are kind of like that big. You might have tiddly little things just like this. Who knows? I don't know. I can't see what you're doing. Don't get too excited. Oh, that's sad. Oh. If you want, I can crit it. Give a critique in another video. Anyway, yeah, that's that. You could have that. That's mine. Right. I think I'm going to leave that there. I hope I'm not going too fast for you guys. I hope you're all right. I'm not going too fast. So I think we're going to move on to. The hull. This bit here. So we're kind of working in and up. I think that'd be quite interesting. We should work here. Let's work on it. What we'll do is we'll sketch this out and this section, and then we'll play with it. If you ever want to use layout paper, it is like a little bit expensive, but it's really thin and it's really good for sketching on. Or just usual printer paper is really cool. I'm sure it'll be glorious. I'm sure it will be glorious. There you go, Steve. You've got a vote of confidence. So, you know what I've just found? I found one of them. Oh, I know I'm not supposed to use it, but I'm going to, just to draw a circle. This could go horribly wrong. Right. I found it, so I'm using it. Because I can. Right. Haha! So, I have no idea where the centre of that is, so we're going to guess it's about here. Let's give me my centre. I always thought it was really weird. When you look at, like, they say the bridge has to be the top and the centre. Tactically, that's a really bad idea, because you're in space. If someone hits it, that's everybody wiped out. Surely it's better like a submarine to have it on the inside. Or if you're going to be, at least have a window. You want to look, you're in space. There's some glorious things like you don't want to watch a star on a TV screen. You want to see it live. I know it's probably blinding. You could put sunglasses on. Be happy with that. Good. Kind of think I might. I know you guys don't probably might not have rulers. No, I'm sticking to it. I'm not using a ruler. So let's sketch this. Kind of digging this. Looks kind of like a weak volcano. This is like really kind of like Discovery-esque, isn't it? I've kind of gone Discovery. I sound a bit Irish then. Or drunk. I don't know. Who knows? I don't even drink anymore. Anyway. So. Has everybody had a nice day today, even though we're in quarantine? I hope you have. And no one's too stressed. I hope your jobs aren't really annoying you. So, we know a saucer is a saucer, so I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to worry about this down here. And I know that there are things here I want to change. For example, I've now decided I don't like this. So, and I want to change this, so I'm going to chop this in. I think that's, so it's quite large. I mean, this is, and I'm going to change the angle on that and bring that down to there. Yeah, that's more like it. Again, it's not going to be exact because we're sketching with pencils, so don't stress. Oh, I hope the dog's joining in. Oh, hi Simon, you're late to the party. Hope you've got your pen and pencil paper. You've missed out a lot already. But don't worry, you can watch it back on the YouTube. I will send out links when I finish editing it together and taking all my rambling out. No, I'm going to leave it in because you love my rambling. I'm running out of tea. This is a disaster. Look at this. There's not a lot left. There's a rule that gets thrown. A rule. Some people throw around this all the time, and I find it frustrating when they go form follows function. Well, not really. You design everything first, and then you start sketching it out. So at the moment, function is going to follow form once we've got a form. So let's go over a bit of a moan there, but I decided not to. There is our rough shape, my rough shape. I don't know how you've done it. You might have gone a different way. You might have gone for something more like that. I don't know. You might have done. Who knows? I'm willing to see. Someone making a cup of tea. Oh, people know me too well. That's worrying. That's really worrying. Now, we've got this. We've got the primary here and the secondary here. It kind of looks like it's been a pizza cutter and it's stuck on top. So I'm going to add to it. I'm going to take it out from there, actually. Let's take it out a bit. Because this... I kind of think I might come a bit too big there. It's going to pull into this. I don't really like that. I think I've ruined my drawing. I don't care. I can always change it. Cut that out. There's... Actually, I could bring that back, can't I? Don't know what... No, not focusing on that. Focusing on this. What I've done is I've kind of gone like the route of what I find interesting as shapes. And kind of what I've seen in my head. Not because I'm mental. Things like X-planes. X-planes wings. If you look at them. This is just a doodle plane. They experiment on X-planes directions of wings. So some X-planes actually have, I think it's, I can't remember, their the delta shape is different, the wing shape is different to see how it reacts to airflow. I think it did really, really badly. I can't remember. I can't remember what it's even called. I have to find out what it's called. So I've taken this kind of shape and port it over to here. I know they're kind of, again, the standard kind of F-16, I think they're called F-16 Fighting Falcon kind of shapes. But that's kind of where it came from, is that kind of the X-plane, because I like to experiment with a concept and a design. I don't like to go exactly what's been done before. I like to experiment and see what's going on. Because I think experimentation is more important than anything else. Which is interesting because this is much fatter than the guy we did before and a bit more squat. That's interesting. Maybe I could bring that into that. Maybe I could bring that into the hull. Or bring the hull over the top of it. See, now my brain's ticking. What if this is actually the top section? What if that's what it is? Ooh, the pizza cutter evolves. And that's, ooh, this is interesting. This is interesting. Because we could drag, ooh, I wish I had a bloody rubber. Alright. I'm going to go with a pen and show you what I mean. So, I don't know if you can... The hull itself has now become Major League. I've had a change of heart and decided that the hull, the primary hull, is actually slotted in. So if I was to draw it from the side, which I'm going to do, I know it's sitting here, but I'll show you what I mean. If this was the primary saucer, this is what we're looking at, kind of. So there you go. It's got a little bit of Mass Effect. So then that'll be... You know what? I think we're onto something. See, now it's evolved. Now we still got our rules. We still have the bridge at the top centre of the primary hull. We still have our nacelles in pairs. They still have at least 50%. Got more than 50% line of sight between them. Even here, there'll be more than 50% because they're raised. So there'll be 100% between these two. And 100% if they're underneath, and 50%, well, this was at 75%, 66% between those ones. Our rules have not failed. We're still good with our rules, and they're not obscured by this. Look at that. I think we're doing well. So, this means, I'm back with a pencil. If I add in, sketch that over. This is what happens. You end up working slowly, and all of a sudden you get a boom of ideas. So we add this guy in here, and already this is kind of changed size. This actually might even change size when I take it and do it digitally. The source might become bigger. We've got, sketch that in, view. We've got a ship. As if by magic, we have a ship. So now that is how design language almost works. I mean, I think I might thin this out. I think this is too chunky. I think I need to thin this out. Maybe I need to kind of bring in that kind of F-16 feel. And then start adding, maybe add some more, add some other shape. Again, see, more shapes coming in. That's neat. So you can see it. Look at that. How are we all doing? Probably thinking if I'm moving way too fast, let me know. Once I kind of get into this, I go off on one. And I'll start going crazy. Don't expect your lines to be perfect. They never are. Okay, here's a riddle for you. Oh, here's a question for you, not really a riddle. What is the shortest route between two distances? There it is. What is the shortest route between two distances? Let's see if everybody answers that one cleverly. Think about it. I can imagine if people start posting these ideas and DMing me them, John's going to have something phenomenal. So, we've got this guy. We've kind of got our... I've got my design now. I've got my kind of concept. If it wasn't for this thing, this would be bigger. I think I would make this bigger. And I would bring it forward. Probably to like back here. So we've got more of a gap here. Because I think this space here should be like this bit here. It's not wide enough, so we'd have looks like a drawn up penis. Is it more like that? Or I could slim that out. It seems a bit kind of fat at the back, a big back end. Oh, you punch a hole in space, time continuum, and warp there. I did say the P word. It's biology. Well, so I mean, you're kind of right. I was more thinking about a curve because we're on a planet, but yeah. Well, technically, that's not really warp. That's what it is. It's warp tunneling, or it's hyperspace tunneling. Just to be pedantic. You're not actually warping space if you're going through a hole. That's something else. That's a different conversation altogether. Yes, I did. I apologise. What I should have said is it looks kind of like a courgette, which is horrible because I am allergic to courgettes and they make me itch. There's your interesting fact of the day. Now, where are we going to go from this? I mean, we could carry on with this now. We've got a rough idea. Let's just start adding in. Let's might just start adding in detail, other shapes. So I know that there's going to be a bend there. So that's going to go there. Let's start adding things in. So if this is going to come across here, oh, should I put a blooming rubber? I don't know where they are. Now, let's start adding in little bits and bobs. Let's add in some nannies. I don't know what these are. They just look cool. And that's going to go there. So we need to have something here to note curvature. Maybe that's what it is. It needs a bit of curve. Right. Before I go crazy on this, we're going to focus on this now because that is going to drive me insane if I don't do it with a clean version. Now we've got our saucer. Our primary hull. Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. Don't start me on time travel, Simon. You'll be here for days. Courgettes are evil. They are evil. I agree. They're evil. They just make me horrible and itch. So do pumpkins. Anyway. Now we can start thinking about, we've got a design, we've got a form. Now we can start thinking about function. If you're going to do this in this kind of universe we have, the main function we've got, the first function, is exploration. That is our first function, our primary function. And in this comes things, science, engineering. Our secondary function is defence. So we need to kind of work out what the balance is going to be. What annoys me, and I see this all the time in fandom, is they go on about Trek being a show about exploration, but every ship they design is a warship. No. No. Don't do that. Bad news bears. So we're about exploration, so we need to know what's going on. Realistically, if you're in space, everything's going to be on the inside. Because you don't want all your important equipment on the outside. So we're going to be kind of a bit sparse on this. And we're also going to start inventing, and we're going to start thinking about things. We need to think about what things do. So we need to know what's its purpose. Now on a space shuttle, the front of a space shuttle. This is cool. See, this is like a science lesson. On the front of a space shuttle, they have a thing on the nose. There's the nose. There's the window. Called a starfinder. It's kind of about there. And the starfinder maps the positions of all the stars in space, so they know where they are. So they can find a guide star. It's not unlike sailing. They find a guide star, and that's like their point, so they know roughly where they are. And also they link it in with various doodad what names in space. Sadly, they don't use space shuttles anymore, which is really sad because they're really expensive and dangerous. all space travel is dangerous. Don't get confused. I think it's wonderful. It's not. So we need to. So with that in mind, we're talking about this bit here. What do you want? Oh, Simon, you're full of puns, aren't you? Days, or will we, if it's time travel? Don't start me. You know it's a bad idea. What do you want on your ship? We've got our bridge. Do you want windows? Do you want people to be able to see? Do you want them to have sensor packets all around? Remember, we're talking about 3 dimensions here. We're talking about X, Y, and Z. We're talking about 3-dimensional movement here. So we need to be able. So whatever you do needs to be in play with 3 dimensions. So, for example, what I'd like to mine, I'd have little doodly-doos, little kind of like sensor nodes on it. I think they'd be cool, like little sensory things, so they can kind of scan out their range. Possibly some lighting. All these little shapes kind of relatively the same, but I think it'd be quite important to have lights. Don't forget navigation lights, because they are really important. What you add is entirely up to you. I mean, you might decide to have air holes. I don't know why you'd have air holes in them. You might decide you want it completely blank. You may decide you want a nice big arrow on the top. I'm gonna bring that down. I'm kind of off on a tangent now. Oh, happy accident. Happy accident. It's almost like a little doodah, like a little bit there, like a little fin. We've got a happy accident. Oh, Bob Ross. I have windows. Windows are important. If you're in space, you want to see it, although you might go mad. Although it's Yuri Gagarin, I think it was Gagarin, or Alexei Leonov, one of the two, said about they had to take a photo of their family up into space, otherwise they would have gone mad. So they have some kind of reference to home. Clever men, and Russian. Who would have thought? Clever Russians in this day and age. Well, back then they were quite, leading the space program. Now their leader's a lunatic. But no politics. We've all got nasty viruses instead. Well, I haven't. Hope you haven't. Hope we're all safe and well. How are we all doing, eh? What are you guys doing up to? Put it in the comments so I can see what your how far you are. Simon's probably very confused. He's like, there's no words on this screen. This isn't a book. You know what? We're going to skip ahead. We've got a rough idea what the top looks like. Let's move to the side. Now I know we said before nacelles come in pairs, so I'm going to have 4. I'm going to have 4 nacelles because then I can have them connected at the base of the hull. I'm guessing better just following your stuff. I hope I'm doing alright. I hope you're not lost. There you go, throaty throat. So, I've got 4 nacelles. I want 4. I want them stacked above each other. There is a reason for this. there was a guy, another science lesson called a Mexican physicist called Alcubierre, who invented the idea of folding space. And what you do, you pull space in the front and put it behind you like a wave. And he said the only way to do that was to have some kind of tunneling effect. So when it was discussed about what his ship would look like, he said it could be a ball, or something with rings around it, because of you're going through a tunnel. You're tunneling, so you needed rings to actually make sure there's space around it. So my idea of having 4 is kind of like a bubble. If you put too much pressure on one side of a bubble, it pops. The idea of 4 is you can have a consistent energy around it. In my head, that makes sense. Anyway, so now we have, again, we're going back to our shapes. We love shapes in this. Shapes are rad. So we've got our shapes. I hope you've got your shapes, because I've got mine. So that was, how did I do this? That was there. And this came under here. So we've got a triangle. That glorious, there's a lot of, I'm pretty sure it's called a rhombus. If someone knows what else it's called, please let me know. I'm pretty sure it's a rhombus. And then, see, this is when you get to the side, you start realising there's other things you kind of can add to it, because you'll see it from a different view. Whatever you're designing, whether it be a car, a plane, a spaceship, a phone, a kitchen, really everything should look good from the front, the top and the side. I know you don't really see that in a kitchen, but because it's all squares, but if something looks out of place, you notice, and then people get annoyed. There you go. So we've got our shapes again. So now we've got a quarter circle, got me rhombus, rectangles, the epic pizza cutter, got a triangle here. Again, part of a rhombus. This rhombus is really kind of appearing, isn't it? And now, this is where I'm going to... See now, these guys, these struts. If you've seen before, struts tend to be quite spindly. When it comes to design before, they kind of turn into kind of these really cool kind of jet wings. I've started thinking that maybe they're a bit too spindly, and if you had a big bit of space junk, smack that. Bad news bears, you're going to lose it. Trapezium. Possibly a trapezium. It could well be a trapezium. We've been going for over an hour. This is cool. I only meant to go for an hour. I was going to carry on now. We're probably going to go about another 20 minutes, I reckon, and then we'll break down, and you guys have a cup of tea, and you can go, oh, that was terrible. What was he thinking? So, enough of that nonsense. We're here. Now, what this gap here is quite large. So, just for giggles, I'm using that as reference. But I think I made it a bit bigger, because I think I want to change this shape again. You're going to find this. You're going to continuously find the more you do it, the more you kind of it is what you want to change shape, because you realise that maybe you want to add a curve or a straight. Okay, we're going to wing this. Maybe not going to change shape. I'm just going to go to there. Sophie, I think you're right. I think it's actually a trapezium. Whilst you're doodling, I'm going to Google it. No, I'm not, because I can't bother. Oh, we're down to 4 viewers. We lost a viewer. We've lost a viewer. Sorry, guys. So, we've got our trapezium. And then we've got we're going over our rectangles. think we're doing quite well at this. No one's complained yet, so I'm quite impressed. Or you're just very, very polite. Nannies. I'm going to sketch this because when I do this digitally, I will add in a lot more detail. I know you guys probably won't, but at no point changing shapes anyway. Really, this thing looks kind of terrible from the side, so we're going to have to start adapting things. I'm going to bring that shape into that. That to there. Right. Sorry, I hit the camera. A rhombus is a wonky square. What's a parallelogram then? Isn't that a parallelogram? Anyone? Who knows? Who knows? I know that's a kite. They're all shapes, they're all wonderful, they're all fun. So this is our quite a nice. The shape's quite fun. I just think it needs more work. And still, we've stuck to our rules. Oh yeah, I was going to bulk up more. They are still opposite each other, still in view because I've already decided I'm doing that with them. I've already got time to go for the X-wing configurations. They've got 100% there, 100% there. The sails are not obscured whatsoever. They're not obscured from the front. They're not obscured from the sides because of they don't reach this, so there's still gaps there. There's a lot of shapes, and so we're pretty good with we're pretty good so far with our following our rules. So I'm just gonna set my head now. If you wonder how designers and comicers think this is it, this is the kind of this and a conversation I had with Tom Spark about he complained his hotel smelt of duty, so I came to the conclusion that somewhere in his hotel room was a small duty with a cocktail umbrella in it and a deck chair on top of it, a tiny deck chair, kind of. Kind of like that. There you go. There's a small duty with a cocktail umbrella. But you didn't see that one coming, did you? So now I've got, again, we're stuck with our shapes again. I've gone off one about poo. We've got our shapes. From the side, it's a lot of triangles and rectangles, so we need to kind of curve this out now, because as much as I like industrial design, curves make things look more streamlined. They add something to it. Although, again, digitally, I might change that and bulk stuff a bit. I don't know how many of you guys have watched Discovery, but the ship in the first episode, the Shenzhou, had its bridge underneath. I thought it was a really cool idea because you could look down and everything. I thought it was pretty rad. You know what? I'm going to add some shapes to this as well. Let's add some more shape. Let's add some more. I've got an idea. So I'm going to say we're going to go with that's either rhombus or trapezium. Because this is what happens. You'll start finding, and I'm going to repeat myself again, you'll have ideas and you'll start adding things as you go along. Don't stick, if you've done this, don't stick directly to it. Everything is a learning curve, so you will keep adding and adding and adding until you're happy in your head what it is. If you go with idea one and follow it through, you're just going to hate it. Well, my phone has just told me I've got 20% battery left because my plug is the other side of the room. So I might have to give in a minute and hope you've learnt something and you've enjoyed my waffling for an hour and 15 minutes. Oh. I hope everyone is well. I hope you've had a rough start of what you think you want to do. Feel free to photograph your drawings and DM them to me, or scan them, or carry on with them until you are content. Or just experiment with it, see where it takes you. See where it takes you, because you might end up going, wow, everything's shapes. And you think, oh, if everything's a shape, I can draw a lamp. And desk lamps are just... they're just shapes. That's all it is. There you go. There's a desk lamp. Really quick. With a plug. There you go. Everything you will ever draw is just shapes. And the more you learn that, the more you will find things more interesting to draw. And we've learnt all that, hopefully, from drawing a starship based on 4 rules from Star Trek's Gene Roddenberry and Andrew Probert. I think we've done quite well. I really hope I haven't bored you and you've learnt something and you've kind of had a rough idea of how a mindset works and what design language is and can really help you do things. I might have to love you and leave you because my phone's about to die. Always love my waffling. Yes, I'm glad someone does. I hope you've learned something. I hope you understand that design language is really important when you're designing for something, whether it be a comic book or a TV show or a film or a novel, or you're just drawing because you want to draw, which I highly recommend, especially at the moment where we're all kind of stuck inside and just draw anything, pens, pencils, lamps, fruit, veg. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and do it digitally and see what I can do with it. I might be able to make it and then show you what comes out of that, and hope for the best. I hope you've enjoyed yourselves. I hope I haven't bored you. Have a lovely evening. I'm going to need another cup of tea, and let me know how you do. And if you want, let me know. We could do another one of these and we'll expand on something else. Maybe I'll pick another franchise, or we'll talk about something else, or we'll build Lego or a model kit. I would actually think if you've enjoyed this, I hope you have. Looking at things like Mobius and Jean-Claude Mezier's stuff he did for Valerian and Fifth Element would be quite a fun thing to tackle, I think, because that's a very different mindset. Have a lovely evening. Stay safe, stay calm, don't hoard anything, have a cup of tea and relax, and don't worry much. See you later on. Bye.